All right, welcome. Today we're going to crack open the toolbox of the Indian Parliament. What I mean is, we're diving into the actual constitutional powers and procedures it uses to keep the government in check. This is all about making sure the executive answers to the people, which is, the whole point of a democracy. So let's start with the big question, right? In our system, the government, the executive, is incredibly powerful. But who keeps all that power from running wild? I mean, it can't be a free-for-all. Well, that's exactly the job of our parliament. Okay, so the best way to think about this is to imagine Parliament has this kind of accountability dashboard. It's not just one big red button, it's a whole set of tools and gauges designed to watch over the government, to ask the tough questions, and yeah, to put the brakes on if needed. And this happens at every single stage, from policy ideas all the way to getting things done. So, on this dashboard, we've got four main instruments of control. First, there's deliberation and discussion, just good old debate. Second, the power to approve or even reject laws. Third, and this is a big one, financial control, following the money. And finally, the ultimate weapon, the no confidence motion. We're going to look at exactly how each of these works. All right, first up, let's look at the tools that are used pretty much every day Parliament is in session. Think of this as the constant, day-to-day work of keeping an eye on the government. And the most famous of these daily tools, it's got to be the question hour. It is a cornerstone of a parliamentary day. For one whole hour, the government is basically in the hot seat. Ministers have to stand up and answer questions from any member of parliament. It's not optional, it's their job. And we're not talking about just any random questions here. The purpose of question hour is huge. MPs use it to get critical information on things that matter to all of us, like rising prices or national security. It's a chance to shine a light on where the government might be falling short, to check up on how different agencies are doing their jobs, and, really importantly, to voice the problems people are facing back in their own constituencies. But the oversight doesn't just stop with the question hour. You've also got things like 0 hour and adjournment motions. These are super important because they let MPs bring up urgent, breaking issues without having to give any advance notice. It keeps the government on its toes because you never know what might come up. Okay, let's switch gears to something really tangible. Money. As they say, follow the money, right? Well, when it comes to controlling the government, Parliament literally holds the purse strings. This is a massive source of its power. So here's the bottom line. The government can dream up all the grand schemes it wants, but it can't spend a single rupee without getting the budget approved by Parliament first. No approval, no money. This means by deciding where the money goes or doesn't go, Parliament can powerfully shape and even block government policies. And this idea goes way back. Check out this quote from N.V. Gadgil during the Constituent Assembly debates. What he's saying is just brilliant. He's pointing out that, yeah, there are rules and procedures Parliament has to follow, but when it comes to its actual power, its substance, there are no limits on its authority over the government. It's meant to be truly sovereign. All right, now we get to the big one, the ultimate weapon in Parliament's arsenal. We're not talking about tweaking a policy or cutting a budget anymore. This tool questions the government's very right to be in power. It's called the no confidence motion, and it's basically the ultimate test. It asks one simple question. Does the government still have the support of the majority of members in the Lok Sabha? If there's any doubt, this motion puts it to a vote. And the results of this vote? It's completely black and white. There's no middle ground. If the government wins the vote, great. They've proven they have the majority and they carry on. But if they lose that vote, it's game over. The entire government has to resign immediately. That's what makes it the most powerful check there is. So, we've talked about the big, high-profile tools. But what about all the detailed technical work? How does Parliament actually dig into the nitty-gritty of complex laws and budgets? Well, the answer is committees. You see, the main parliamentary sessions are actually pretty short. There's just not enough time for everyone to become an expert on everything. So that's where committees come in. They're basically smaller working groups of MPs from all the different parties. They can really take the time to study laws, budgets, and policies in super fine detail, often away from the cameras and the big debates. And the work they do is absolutely critical. We're talking about studying the budget requests from every single ministry, investigating potential corruption, examining government spending, and picking apart bills piece by piece. They essentially do all the heavy lifting and the legislative homework, which makes the whole Parliament's job much, much easier and better informed. Okay, last but not least, for Parliament to be this effective watchdog for the government, it first needs to be able to regulate itself. You have to get your own house in order, and that means maintaining discipline among its own members. One of the biggest issues here is something called defection. So, what is that? Well, imagine a politician gets elected because they belong to a certain party. Defection is when, after winning the election, they just decide to quit that party and join another one, or they vote against what their party has decided. It really undermines the whole idea of a voter's mandate. So, to tackle this problem, a major amendment was made to the Constitution, the anti-defection law. And it's pretty straightforward. If a member voluntarily leaves their party, they can lose their seat in the House. And if they vote against the party's direction on a crucial vote, they can be disqualified. The decision on whether someone has defected is made by the presiding officer of the House, like the Speaker. So when you put it all together, from the daily grind of question hour all the way to the ultimate power of a no confidence vote, you can see that Parliament has this incredibly detailed and complex system of checks and balances. These aren't just suggestions, they're the very foundation of its power to hold the government accountable. To get an even fuller picture of how Parliament is structured and how it functions, definitely check out the other sections of this chapter.